What if the very thing that feels like you are falling apart is actually the final confirmation that everything you have been building is about to arrive? What if the thoughts that just came rushing back, the ones you were sure you had already healed, the fears you thought you had outgrown months ago, the doubt that suddenly feels heavier than it has in a long time, what if none of that means what you think it means? What if you are not going backward at all? What if you are standing at the final gate? Let that land for a moment. Because there is something happening right now that almost nobody talks about honestly. There is a phase in transformation, a very specific phase where everything appears to collapse right before it comes together. Where the old mind gets louder, not quieter. Where the body tightens, not relaxes. Where the emotions you were certain you had released come flooding back with a force that makes you question whether any of the inner work you have done was ever real. And this is the moment where most people turn around. This is the exact point where the majority of people abandon the very path that was about to deliver them into a completely different life. Not because they were weak, not because they lacked commitment, but because they misread the signal. They interpreted the noise as evidence that they were failing, and so they stopped. Right at the edge, right at the threshold, right at the final gate. But you are still here, and the fact that you are still here, listening, searching, reaching for something deeper than the surface-level explanation, that tells me something. It tells me you are closer than you think. And what you need right now is not another technique. It is understanding. It is the ability to see what is actually happening inside you with enough clarity that you stop mistaking the last gasp of the old self for the voice of truth. So let us go there. Let us go into the architecture of what is really taking place when transformation gets loud, when the old patterns surge, when the mind produces its most convincing argument for why you should remain exactly who you have always been. Because once you see this clearly, once you truly understand the mechanics of what is happening at the level of the brain, the nervous system, the body, and the field of consciousness itself, you will never be fooled by this phase again. Right before a new reality appears, something disturbing often happens inside the mind. The old thoughts come back, but they do not come back softly. They do not whisper. They return louder than they have been in weeks, sometimes months. The fear you genuinely believed you had moved through suddenly speaks again with startling authority. The doubt you had not felt in what seemed like a long time returns with an intensity that feels almost personal, as if it knows exactly where to find you, exactly which wound to press, exactly which insecurity to activate. Thoughts you were certain were behind you begin rushing back into your awareness, as if they are making one final coordinated attempt to reclaim control of your inner world. And the timing of it is what makes it so disorienting, because it does not happen when you are stuck. It does not happen when you are stagnant. It happens precisely when you have been making real progress. It happens right after the breakthrough, right after the meditation that felt different, right after the day when something inside you genuinely shifted. Right after you started to feel, for the first time in perhaps years, that a new version of your life was actually possible. And then the old voice returns, and it says something like this: "See, that feeling was not real. You were just imagining it. You are not actually changing. You are the same person you have always been. Go back to what you know. Stop pretending you can become something different. And because the timing is so precise, because the voice arrives at the exact moment you were starting to believe in the new, it feels devastating. It feels like proof. It feels like the universe is confirming your deepest fear, that the transformation was never real, that you were fooling yourself, that the old reality is the only one you will ever know. But here is what no one tells you about this moment. The reason the old thoughts get louder is not because they are getting stronger. It is because they are losing their grip. The reason the fear screams is not because danger is real. It is because the old identity is dying. And dying things do not go quietly. They thrash, they surge, they make one final, desperate bid for survival. And if you do not understand that this is what is happening, you will hand your power back to the very thing that was about to release you. This is one of the most important principles in all of transformation work, and it applies whether you approach it from the lens of neuroscience, psychology, spiritual practice, or quantum mechanics. The principle is this: resistance intensifies at the threshold, not in the middle, not at the beginning, at the threshold, at the final gate. If this is resonating with something deep inside you right now, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next. Let us understand why. Your brain is not designed for transformation. It is designed for continuity. The nervous system does not prioritize growth. It prioritizes prediction. It does not care whether you are happy. It cares whether it can anticipate what comes next. Because prediction equals safety in the language of the body. And safety, to the nervous system, is the highest priority there is. This means that every pattern you have ever repeated, every thought you have cycled through thousands of times, every emotional reaction you have rehearsed until it became automatic, all of it has been encoded into your neurology as familiar. And familiar, to the brain, means safe. Even when familiar means suffering, even when familiar means anxiety, self-doubt, emotional shutdown, chronic stress, or quiet desperation, the nervous system does not evaluate the quality of the pattern. It evaluates the predictability of the pattern. And if it is predictable, the body trusts it. If it is predictable, the system says, yes, I know how to survive inside this. This is why people stay trapped in emotional cycles for years, sometimes decades. The conscious mind wants change. The heart wants freedom. But the body, the nervous system, the deeply memorized chemical architecture of the old self, all of it is organized around preservation. Preservation of the known. Preservation of the familiar. Preservation of the identity that has been practiced so thoroughly that it no longer requires conscious effort to maintain. The old self is not just a story you tell about yourself. It is a system. It is a neurological, chemical, physiological system that has been reinforced through tens of thousands of repetitions. Every time you thought the same anxious thought, you strengthened a neural pathway. Every time you felt the same wave of unworthiness, you deepened a chemical groove. Every time you reacted with the same protective pattern, you told the nervous system, this is who we are. This is how we operate. This is what is real. And over time, those repetitions became so efficient that the brain could run them automatically. The old self stopped being something you chose. It became something that ran you. It became the default operating system of your entire internal world. So when you begin changing, when you start meditating differently, thinking differently, feeling differently, choosing differently, something very specific happens inside the body. The old system notices, not consciously, not intellectually, but biologically. The nervous system registers that the familiar chemical environment is shifting. The brain notices that the well-worn neural pathways are no longer being activated with the same frequency. The body senses that the emotional baseline it has been organized around for years is starting to dissolve, and the system reacts, not with celebration, not with encouragement, with alarm. Because from the perspective of the nervous system, you are not evolving, you are destabilizing, you are not growing, you are becoming unpredictable. And unpredictable to a system built on preservation registers as threat. This is the biological foundation of what most people experience as the return of old patterns. It is not failure. It is not regression. It is the old system mounting a defense. It is the previous identity activating every tool it has to pull you back into the known. And the most powerful tool it has is this. It makes the old thoughts feel true. I want to pause here and ask you something. When was the moment you first realized that the resistance you were feeling might actually be a sign of progress rather than proof of failure? Share that moment in the comments, because your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Think about that for a moment. The old identity does not return and announce itself. It does not say, "Hello, I am your outdated fear pattern, and I am trying to prevent you from evolving." No. It returns wearing the mask of truth. It returns sounding like wisdom. It returns feeling like clarity. It says things like, "Be realistic." It says, "You are not ready for this." It says, "Who do you think you are?" It says, "Remember the last time you tried something like this and it did not work." And because these thoughts arrive with emotional charge, because the body tightens when they appear, because the chest constricts and the stomach drops, and the breath becomes shallow, the thoughts do not feel like old programming. They feel like honest assessment. They feel like the most sober, rational, grounded perspective you have had in weeks. But they are not truth. They are chemistry. They are the body's memorized emotional states generating thoughts that match the old identity. The feeling comes first, the thought follows. And because the feeling is so visceral, so physical, so real in the body, the thought inherits that realness. It borrows the authority of sensation. And suddenly, you are not just thinking an old thought. You are believing it. You are living inside it. You are collapsing back into the very identity you were in the process of leaving behind. This is the mechanism. This is how the old self preserves itself, not through logic, through chemistry, not through truth, through sensation. The body generates the familiar emotional state. The emotional state generates the matching thought. The thought deepens the emotional state, and the loop closes. You are back inside the old reality, not because it was real, because it was practiced. And here is where it gets even more important. This mechanism does not activate randomly. It activates most powerfully at the exact moment when the new identity is closest to stabilizing. The old system does not waste energy fighting you when you are dabbling. It does not mount its strongest defense when you are casually exploring change. It saves its most intense response for the moment when the shift is genuinely threatening to become permanent. This is why the final gate feels the hardest. This is why the last stretch of transformation is often the most brutal. Because the old identity is not fighting you from a position of strength. It is fighting you from a position of desperation. And desperation makes things loud. Desperation makes things convincing. Desperation makes things feel urgent and real and absolutely certain. But desperation is not truth. It is survival, and you need to learn the difference. Let me take you deeper into this. There is a concept in the study of complex systems that applies directly to what happens inside you during this phase. In systems theory, when a system is about to undergo a fundamental reorganization, there is often a period of increased instability right before the new order emerges. The old structure begins losing coherence. The patterns that held it together start breaking down, and during that breakdown, the system becomes temporarily more chaotic, more turbulent, more unpredictable than it was before. This is not a sign that the system is failing. It is a sign that the system is reorganizing at a higher level of complexity. The turbulence is not the problem. It is the transition. And the transition has to happen because the old arrangement can no longer sustain the energy that is moving through the system. Your consciousness works the same way. Your identity works the same way. When you have been doing genuine inner work, when you have been shifting your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, your attention, you have been introducing a new pattern into a system that was organized around the old. And at some point, the old organization can no longer hold. It begins to destabilize. And that destabilization feels, from the inside, like everything is falling apart. But falling apart and breaking through are often the same event experienced from different levels of awareness. From the perspective of the old self, it is catastrophe. From the perspective of the emerging self, it is liberation. The question is, which perspective are you watching from? And this is where your awareness becomes the most important factor in the entire process. Because the thoughts will come, the sensations will come, the old fears, the old doubts, the old stories, they will all make their final appearance. That is not optional. That is not something you can skip. It is built into the architecture of transformation itself. The question is never whether the old self will speak again. The question is whether you will still believe it when it does. Pause with that. Because this is the real test. This is the actual gate. It is not a test of whether you can prevent old thoughts from arising. That is not within your control, and it never was. The test is whether, when those thoughts arise, you still hand them the authority to define your reality. The test is whether you can feel the old sensation move through the body and not collapse into the story it is trying to tell. The test is whether you can stand in the fire of the old identity's final protest and remain anchored in the knowing that you are not that voice. You are the awareness that hears it. This is what separates the people who break through from the people who break down at this stage. It is not strength in the way most people understand strength. It is not willpower. It is not forcing the old thoughts to be quiet. It is something much more subtle and much more powerful. It is recognition. It is the ability to recognize the old pattern for what it is in the very moment it is trying to convince you that it is something else. When the fear arises and you can say, "I see you, I know what you are," you are the old identity making its last stand. Something extraordinary happens. The thought oustes upon its charge, not immediately, not dramatically, but meaningfully. Because a thought only has power over you when you believe it is you. The moment you see it as a pattern, as a neurological habit, as a chemical echo of a self you are in the process of outgrowing, it becomes something you are witnessing rather than something you are being. And that shift from being to witnessing is the entire transformation. This is what the great contemplative traditions have pointed toward for thousands of years, and it is what modern neuroscience is beginning to confirm. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not the sensations that move through your body. You are the field of awareness in which all of those phenomena arise. And when you learn to rest in that field, when you learn to observe the old patterns without merging with them, the patterns begin to lose their ability to regenerate. Because here is the secret. The old identity cannot survive without your participation. It needs you to believe the thought. It needs you to react to the sensation. It needs you to engage with the story. Without your attention, without your emotional investment, without your identification, the old self has no fuel. It is like a fire that requires oxygen. Your belief is the oxygen, and the moment you withdraw belief, not through suppression, not through denial, but through clear seeing, the fire begins to die. This is why the old self gets so loud at the end. It is trying to force your attention. It is trying to provoke a reaction. It is trying to generate enough emotional intensity that you involuntarily engage with it one more time, because one more engagement might be enough to restart the loop. One more moment of believing the fear might be enough to collapse you back into the old timeline. And this is exactly why understanding this process is so critical. Because when you understand it, you stop being surprised by it. You stop being devastated by the return of old thoughts. You stop interpreting the intensity as failure. Instead, you begin to see it for what it truly is. The final test, the last gate. The old self's desperate, beautiful, terrified attempt to survive. And there is something almost compassionate about seeing it this way. Because the old self is not evil. It is not your enemy. It is a pattern that kept you alive. It is a structure that helped you navigate a world that once felt overwhelming, dangerous, confusing. The anxiety was trying to protect you.
This isn't your breakdown. It's your final threshold. Everything feels slower, heavier, uncertain. Not because you're losing, but because you're being asked one last question. Are you truly ready to become who you said you wanted to be? The old version of you is fading. The new version of you isn't fully formed yet. And this space in between, it's uncomfortable. It's silent. It's intense. But it's not punishment. It's proof that you're standing at the final gate. Most people turn back here. They mistake this pressure for failure. But you stayed. And that changes everything. Because once you pass this point, there is no going back, only becoming. So don't retreat now. Take one more step and watch your entire reality respond.